Welcome, Meteor fans, to the Mastering Meteor sample chapter. I am Josh Owens, and I created this course because I wanted people to be able to take a deeper dive into Meteor and how I build applications. And I also wanted to build something that was more comprehensive than what some of the online tutorials cover. So this course has over 8 hours of video in it, and this is half of chapter 8 that I've put up here for you to watch. This is a pretty advanced story. We're talking about how to do join publications and the kinds of problems you might run into in creating those publications, and how you might solve that. So the sample, again, is only half, so we won't get all the way through the solution. But at the end, we're building a Twitter clone. We've put some time and effort into building the UI up front. So we're taking a static UI and making it dynamic. It looks like Twitter. We want it to feel like Twitter. And we've got about 14 or 15 stories that we go through. And we cover all kinds of topics, including, we dabble a little bit in just showing you how to boot up Cordova, running the iOS simulator, and hosting, and building with Blaze and Iron Router and all that kind of stuff. So feel free to just watch this video, and if you're interested, you can go back to mastering.meteor.js.club, and you can get the rest of the course for $249. So thanks for watching. As a tweeter, I want to see a tailored chronological list of tweets from people I follow so that I can learn what my friends are doing. So this is basically us wiring up the tweet page, right? So technically, I'm following Alice. So this page right now looks relatively correct, right? We're missing Alice's data here. So we'll have to publish that. But we're not really checking. So if I added a Bob account and Bob logged in, and he tweeted something, it would show up here as well, right? Because we're naively looking at all the tweets. And so we need to start scoping this to be the tailored, users I care about because I followed them type of tweets. And so a lot of this work's going to happen in the publication itself because we already have the tweets hooked up properly. We need to expose all the tweet data correctly. So what we need to do here is we're going to look up the user because we need to find our user. Can we do meteor.user here? Let's look at the docs. Yeah. Okay. So in the docs, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it'll tell you where you can use things, and clearly we can use meteor.user in the client or the server. We just can't use them in publish functions. So that wasn't quite what we wanted. But what we can do instead is just say users.find one. ID is this dot user ID. That's a special bit of context we get there that is set to the logged in user's user ID on the server. So we can use that. We'll find the user, and then what we need to do is we need to grab some following IDs. So we'll start to use something like underscore here. Actually, we don't need to use underscore here. Users equals users.find, right? Because we're looking up all those users. And we'll do like ID, and then we can do $in, which is an array match operator for us. And we can say user.profile.following IDs. And that'll get us our users back. The other thing, oops. We want to expose here are the tweets. So we want user ID in user.profile.following IDs. And then from a publication, we can actually return anything we want. So even though we're calling this my tweets, we can actually return user comma tweets here, right? Because we're returning cursors. So we can return an array of cursors with different kind of data. And it's just going to push all that data that we need across the wire. And so that becomes interesting because we're essentially like this is a very basic join kind of thing that we're doing here, but it is going to have some bugs in it. As a matter of fact, I have some kind of bug now. Returns an array of non-cursors. What did I return? Did I return user instead of users? I did. So you always have to return that cursor from the publication. There we go. And now you can see we're getting Alice's information now, right here. But again, whoops, we've exposed too much of Alice's data. We've exposed all her stuff again. So we need to make sure on our query for users, let's see, right here, we just do fields. It would be nice if you could just like globally do this somehow. There we go. And now we've got Alice's data back down where it needs to be. And so this is interesting. But let's log in Firefox as Alice and in Chrome as Josh. And let's see what happens. Oh, are we throwing an error? Because, oh yes, yes we are. We did need the following IDs. Basically, we need to put our own ID into the following IDs because we want to see our own tweets. Guess we can just make an array and push into it. So we'll just push our ID in there and then we'll change all these to be following IDs. So we'll always at least return our own tweets. We're still getting an error somewhere. Alice doesn't have any following IDs anywhere, so what we need to do is initialize this as an empty array. Then Mongo won't give us an error. And then we'll just push on both those. I'm in trouble typing. There we go. Now Alice is seeing her own tweet over here. And interesting, did we lose Alice's tweet? I wonder why we did that. Oh, I think because I'm pushing in two arrays, we need to flatten this guy. Still not quite right. Just throw console.log here. Following IDs. Oh, I gotta save it off. There we go. So now we're seeing Alice again. Basically, we were getting an array structure that looked like this, 1, 2, 3, and then your own ID was being inserted in there. But instead, what we really need for Mongo lookups is something like that. So that's what flatten's doing for us. All right, testing reactive tweets. So again, on the right, we're logged in Firefox as Alice. On the left, logged in as Josh in Chrome. You can see, boom, Alice got the new tweet. Josh got the new tweet. Bingo, everything works great, just like we expect, right? But now we're starting to get into the problem of reactive joins. So let's say Matt decides, hey, I want to try this thing out. And let's see, we get signed up. Just go by Matt. Really? No M, huh? I guess I put that in there, huh? Matt D. So we'll get registered. We're logged in as Matt. And now we can put a tweet. Hey guys, I'm Matt. And so over here, like, I'm not following Matt, so that was as I expected, right? But what happens is, I don't think we need Firefox anymore. Oh goodness, this is gonna be fun. Let's see if we can get these windows to come up the way I want. Here we go. So now, if I go look at Matt's profile, Matt D, and I follow Matt, I'm actually, one would think you're going to get those tweets to show up in your timeline, right? But that's actually not the case. So we click follow, nothing happened. We refresh the page over here, suddenly we're getting Matt's tweet. And so the problem is we are making 2 calls right here, and we're driving those 2 calls off of a non-reactive data source right here, these following IDs. And there's no way in the server for us to there's no such thing as a tracker auto run, right? So if we did this on the client, we could just do, tracker.autorun, and it would track this code, something like this. And we just wrap this guy down here. And it would watch all this code, and if something changed, it would then rerun it. But that's totally not the case, because there is no such thing as tracker auto run in the server. Wow, I just deleted all that code. And so what we need to think about, and what I want you guys to play around with tonight, kind of as homework, is you need to use observe changes and watch our user for the following IDs field. And when that changes, you do some math to see who was added, who was removed, and then you actually have to push down each record over the DDP pipe using self.added or self.removed. And I'll show you where that's at in the docs. This is a complex topic, and I don't expect you to get it right. It took me 3 classes before we actually got it functioning. So no worries there. But I think the important thing is really just to kind of look over these docs and try to understand what I'm talking about. So what we're really messing with here is live query. And this is how the server is doing everything under the covers. It's running these observed changes for you. So watch a query, receive callbacks as the result set changes. Only the difference between the old and new docs are passed. Is that right? Is that the one we want? Yeah. And so, it's similar to how Meteor method was, where you just give it a map of, added, and it's going to run a function if something in the query has been added or removed. And so what we're going to do is we need to actually save off this user. Find here. And this will be our user cursor. And then user equals user cursor dot fetch 0. We just care about that first record. And so our code should still work here, but then what you're going to do down here is user cursor dot observe changes, and then you're going to have a whole lot of code. I'll tell you right now, it's probably 52 lines of code to get it all working correctly. Because what you have to do is you watch your user cursor, and when those following IDs change, you then need to use underscore to do a little bit of math to see what's been added and removed. And then for each array of added people, you need to go through and find their users, and then we're going to make a where's it at? Added. You make this subscription added call, and basically you give it a collection name, an ID, and then you pass it the object in question, right? All the fields for the object. And that's actually what pushes it across the pipe using DDP. So that's going to get the data from, point A to point B from the server to the client. And that's kind of how it works. But again, I'll be around on email. I'll push this code up. Let's make sure it still works. That still works. That still works. Good. All right. So this is a big topic, and I know it's a little bit of mind bending. That's why I try to actually end the day on it, kind of let you think about it overnight. Tomorrow we'll get back at it and think about it and talk about it and work through it. But if you want to take on the challenge, like try to write that publication to work using your own observed changes.